for this particular video, we're going to be graphing tangent functions. All right, so let's look and see what we get here. Tangent functions always look like this. They look completely different than sines and cosines. They have these asymptotes because tangent, when you look at the unit circle, is really y divided by x. The y value divided by the x value on the unit circle. And there are some undefined spaces. And at pi over 2, at 3 pi over 2, you would notice they have undefined, and that's an asymptote. If you also look at your unit circle, at 0 and pi and 2 pi, the answer is 0. Okay, and at pi over 4, it's 1, and so forth. So the key points you're looking for on these is this right here. These are going to be 1 high. These are 0. Things you're just going to have to watch out for. And these are 1 down, if you can see that. So they're 1 down. And you have an asymptote at right there. So let's talk about this. What is my midline? Well, for tangent, it is just y equals 0. What is my period? Oh, it's different. If you look at this graph, if you go from here up in the line back to there, and then it repeats. So from here to here, it has a period of pi. Oh, tangent doesn't repeat at 2 pi, it repeats at pi. Another way, the way I actually like to look at it is look between the two asymptotes. You can see between the two asymptotes I have 1 cycle and then it repeats. So you can either think of it from here to here or from asymptote to asymptote as seeing your period, whatever works for you. And whereas right here is asymptote, well, asymptote is just give me one of them. Hopefully you notice the asymptote is always at pi over 2. It's where you, when you take the unit circle, you're dividing by 0 because you cannot divide by 0. Okay, and then it repeats. All right, so you have one at pi over 2 and then 3 pi over 2, and it keeps that pattern going over and over. So once you get that first asymptote, you just add pi each time and you can get more. Alrighty, hopefully you can see a tangent graph here. It's a little bit creepier. Alright, the midline is a little weird here. It's really kind of hard to see the midline. But the best way to think of it is at 0, doesn't a tangent usually hit the midline right here at 0? So look up and down. Can you see right there? Can you see it hits right there at -1? So that's how you tell where your midline is because it is right smack when it hits at 0. It's also, you could think of it as, where is the hit exactly between the two asymptotes, which is right there. So you kind of got to find exactly where is it exactly between the two asymptotes, or at 0, where does it hit? So my midline is y equals -1. Once again, your midline is at 0 what the value is, or look for where it's exactly between, and you'll see it's the same -1. It's kind of tricky. That one's, it's weird. My period, well, you look here from here, this dot to this dot, you can see that, or you could think, how far is it from blue asymptote to blue asymptote? I think it's easier just to see this right here, from here to here. Hopefully you can see that would be 0 to pi over 2. So my period is pi over 2. And where is my first asymptote? That's what I want to kind of reference. Well, my first asymptote is, oh, there's pi over 2. It's not there anymore. It's at, what's halfway between 0 and pi over 2? Hopefully you know that's x equals pi over 4. Asymptotes should be written as x equals. I forgot that on the last page. Because they're vertical asymptotes. These are horizontal lines. So it should be x equals pi over 4. Okay, how do we put this all together to make an equation? Well, we know it's tangent. We know there's going to be an x. So we don't worry. The amplitude we'll come back and talk about. That's kind of weird. It's not really having an amplitude, but there's an a value, and I'll show you how to find that. My midline, let's do our midline. That's easy. So take the k value. So it's the -1. The midline is your k. How do you get this? Well, it used to be 2 pi divided by b, but if you remember tangent is pi divided by b is your period, which in this situation, my period is pi over 2. So pi divided by what gives you pi over 2? hopefully you can tell that that would be 2. Or you can cross multiply and solve, and you will get 2. It's not a 6, it's a b. So the b value is 2. Now lastly, how do we get the a value? It's not an amplitude, and it's kind of weird, but what you want to do to get your a value is you want to look exactly between, how do I say this? Exactly between this green dot and that blue line. You want to go straight up until you hit the graph. You see it hits right there. All right? So as you go straight between these two, when you go straight up, hits right there. That number, or how high that is your amplitude. It's really kind of weird, but that's kind of the trick. So exactly between these two values, it goes up 1, 2, 3. So we went up 3 units right there. And watch, it keeps doing that. Between these two, if you go up, doesn't it hit right there? So straight between, it goes up 1, 2, 3. Because on normal tangent, straight between these two, it went up 1. But this one is at 3 units up. So for this tangent graph, you hopefully notice it's going down. Okay. So let's find the midline. Remember, the midline's always at 0. Where's it hit? And it hits right there. So it looks like it hits right there, which would mean there, which would mean there. So that's the middle of my graph right there. All right. Let's see, what else? Okay. Remember I said what's exactly between this dot and this asymptote and go down until you hit the graph? That's your A value. So your A value is between these two dots right in the middle, go down until you hit the graph. Or between this dot and this dot, go up until you hit the graph. And how far up and down are you going? Well, from here down. Do you notice I'm going down 1, up 1? So my A value is 1. Let's go back to our midline. My midline was y equals 1. Okay. And my period, let's go back to my period. By the way, that A value, I'll put it over here. My A, I can tell, is 1. But my A is actually -1. Now, why is my A -1? Because it's going down. So the number in front of my tangent equation, kind of jumping out of order a little bit. Can you tell my number in front of here is going to be a -1? It's going to be tangent, and it's going to be -1 because I go down 1, up 1, downhill, and I go the A value of 1. It's not an amplitude, it's just kind of the same idea of an amplitude. Okay, so the period. How wide is it between cycles? Sorry, how many, what is the period of a cycle? So from this green dot to that green dot looks like 2 pi. Or from this blue line to that blue line is also 2 pi. So my period is 2 pi. And where is my first asymptote? It looks like at x equals pi. And then it repeats. So if you notice, it starts at pi, and then the period is when your next asymptote happens. So my next asymptote, I'd add 2 pi again, which would be at 5 pi, which is off the graph. Okay, so what we want to do now is, let's put the midline, which is right there. So that would be +1. And we got to find this right here. What is this value going to be? What is our b? So let's remember, on a tangent, it's pi divided by b equals your period. Ooh, this is an ugly one again because it's kind of hard to see. So this one you might want to cross multiply solve because you might not just see it. So what we have is 2 pi b equals pi. Divide by 2 pi. And it looks like I get b equals 1/2. Alrighty. So this is a 1/2 x, or an x divided by 2. So you got to be careful about that. It's a 1/2. Some of you could look right at the beginning. If I divide by 1/2, oh, I get 2 pi. That isn't always that easy to see. So again, asymptote at pi, period at 2 pi. So I hit another asymptote. Do you see how it's going downhill? And you see when you go right in the middle is up 1, down 1. Hopefully you're getting the idea so far. All right, the last one. Where is my midline? Can you tell? Well, hopefully you can see, right there is the middle of my graph. Remember, you always look at the at the y-intercept, and that gives you it. Otherwise, you also could look in where is it exactly between the two asymptotes, and that would be at there, which is at -2. So this is y equals -2 is the middle of my graph. My period. So my period here, my period. Okay, how far is it from here to here? Or from green dot to green dot? Let's go the green dots. From this to here is a length of 1. So my period is 1. Let's look. Also from here to here, is that also 1? Oh yeah, it is, because a half to a 1.5 is 1. And where is my first asymptote? It looks like it is at x equals 1/2. Now if you look at that, do you also notice that if this is at 1/2, do you add 1 to that? Add 1 gets you to every next asymptote. Okay, so let's write the equation. We have a tangent, put the x down. So what number is going to be in front? That's the a value. Again, the a value is halfway between, and we go up. So halfway between is right there, 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 there. And how far up and down are you going each time? Looks like you're going up and down a half. So this would be a half in front. And it's going uphill, so it's a positive half. All right, your period was 1. So pi divided by what will give you 1. And for that one, I hope you can see that would be pi. So that's going to be a pi there. That's your b value. Again, if you can't see it, you cross multiply and solve. And the last one is what is my midline? How is it shifted? Well, it looks like it's been shifted to -2. It's been pushed down. So this would be a -2 out here. So there is the equation to my graph. And be careful. You have asymptotes. Remember, a cycle is only pi. A period is only, pi. A cycle is a little bit shorter on tangent. There's twice as many cycles as sine or cosine has. So just remember, when you find your first asymptote, add your period to get to your next repeated asymptote beyond that. And if it's going uphill, it's positive. Downhill would be a negative. And also, finding this value for a is a little tricky. You go exactly between these two and see how far up or down you went.